Why does death terrify human beings more than anything else in existence, even though it is the only certainty every person shares? People fear pain, failure, poverty, and loss. Yet all of these fears are secondary compared to the silent fear of death that follows the human soul from childhood to old age. This fear is not loud, but it is constant, and no amount of distraction truly removes it. Modern society claims that death is natural and final, yet the human heart refuses to accept that idea fully. If death was simply nothingness, fear would make no sense, because there would be no awareness left to suffer or regret. But the fear exists deeply and universally, which proves that the soul itself understands something the tongue refuses to admit. Death is not an ending, it is a transition. Islam explains this truth with clarity and honesty. Allah states in the Qur'an that He created death and life as a test, meaning death is not an accident or a punishment, but a deliberate stage in human existence. This alone separates Islamic understanding from modern material thinking, which treats death as a system error rather than a meaningful event. Human beings fear death because death removes control. Throughout life, people build the illusion that they are in charge of time, plans, and outcomes. Death shatters that illusion instantly. No wealth delays it, no power resists it, and no intelligence negotiates with it. The soul recognizes this loss of control, and fear naturally follows. Another reason death terrifies humans is accountability. Deep inside, every person knows they have made choices that cannot be undone. Islam confirms this inner awareness by teaching that every action, intention, and secret will be brought forward. This knowledge does not come from culture. It comes from the fitrah, the natural disposition Allah placed inside the human soul. The Prophet Muhammad taught that the intelligent person is the one who remembers death often and prepares for what comes after it. Modern society considers this unhealthy, yet Islam calls it wisdom. Remembering death is not meant to cause despair. It is meant to bring clarity and direction to life. People who live only for pleasure fear death intensely because death interrupts desire. Pleasure requires time, and death ends time. Islam explains that when desire becomes the purpose of life, death becomes the enemy. But when Allah becomes the purpose, death becomes a meeting rather than a loss. The Qur'an uses powerful language when describing death, stating that every soul will taste death. Taste implies awareness, not disappearance. This single word destroys the idea that death is unconscious nothingness. Instead, it confirms continuity of existence in another form. This is why moments near death are emotionally intense. People suddenly regret, apologize, remember God, and seek forgiveness. These reactions do not come from social conditioning. They come from the soul sensing that the veil between worlds is thinning. Islam teaches that the unseen becomes closer at death, and the soul begins to recognize the truth it ignored during life. Fear of death also increases in societies that deny the afterlife. When life is believed to be random and temporary with no continuation, every loss feels final and unbearable. Islam removes this despair by explaining that death is not destruction, but relocation from one stage to another. Another uncomfortable truth is that humans fear death because justice has not been completed in this world. Oppressors often die peacefully, while the oppressed suffer. If death were the end, justice would be meaningless. Islam answers this problem by declaring that death is not where justice ends, but where it truly begins. The Prophet described the grave as either a garden from the gardens of paradise, or a pit from the pits of hell. Statement explains why death carries weight and seriousness. Death reveals the true value of how one lived, not how one appeared. Islam does not deny fear of death, it reshapes it. Fear becomes awareness. Awareness becomes preparation, and preparation becomes peace. Those who live consciously with Allah fear death less because death does not surprise them. It fulfills what they were preparing for. In the end, the question is not why death terrifies humans, but why humans delay preparing for it. Death does not need reminders. It arrives on time. Islam invites the human being to wake up before death forces that awakening.